How do we get it all done? It is a question that someone brought up in our community headquarters, and it got me thinking about how do we do everything that our business needs when we are just one founder or CEO or entrepreneur, whatever title you like to wear. Now, of course, some of us have teams and systems in place, but still, how do you get it all done? It's a really good question when you think about everything that goes into your business, into the day-to-day and into the long term. When you think about the people involved in your business, whether they are your team, your clients, partners, etc., there's just so much. And so what I want to do today is really take a step outside of the rat race and the chaos and come back to how can we get this done and some different things to keep in mind to make it easier for you. So we're going to talk about some strategies today that will give you more freedom, allow you to find more space and take up more space as that more CEO figure. Because what we really want you to move away from is the busy founder who has 1,000 tasks on her plate every single day and sometimes feels that, paralysis of, what do I need to get done today? And then feel the weight of that backlog at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I totally get it. Part of me was there last night, and I find myself in seasons where that can pop up. But this is for all of you, as well as for myself, to remind us that there are other rhythms of working that actually suit us better and actually allow us to make more money. Yes, that is right. There are studies out there, there's research, there's so many books. 10X is the new 2X is one of them, where they talk about, the more space that you have in your schedule, the more revenue you're making. And the more space you can provide yourself as a CEO to be in that more visionary state, to be taking care of your energy, to be resting, to be in that creative flow state zone, the more profitable you are. And I have seen this too with people who I've coached who have 7-figure businesses, 8-figure businesses, or who are at the top of unicorn companies. They need so much space to make the right decisions. Because if you think about it, the higher you climb, the more pressure is on you. So you need to make sure that you can act clearly and with conviction, and you can weigh the trade-offs at that level. So now, no matter if you're just starting out or if you are on that higher end, let's get into these strategies, okay? The very first one, and we already hinted at it, is that you need to protect your energy. Your energy is everything as a business owner. And it is truly why I made this podcast, Confessions of a Spiritual Entrepreneur. I believe every entrepreneur needs to take care of their spirit, right? You need to make sure that you are energy rich so that when hard decisions come through your desk, or you have to make a tough call, or there's an incredible opportunity that you need to be ready for, you are ready for those moments, or as ready as you can be so that you are resourced and ready to take it on. The second thing here is we want to move you from operator to orchestrator. And I love this kind of visualization. One analogy I love to present for people is one where you can imagine yourself as a conductor of an orchestra. You have your team there, they're all in their chairs, they're playing their own instruments, and there's this music that begins, and each note flows into the next note, and it becomes very seamless. And so you don't need to play every single instrument. You just need to be able to stand there in conviction, allowing yourself to set the pace for the organization. You make these small, swift movements. You don't even need to carry an instrument at all. And yet the music plays. It comes together. It builds. It goes in its own rhythm and cycle. And you're at the front. You're standing there owning the movement. That is where you want to move towards as a founder, entrepreneur, CEO. But in order to do that, you need to let go. You need to let go of being the operator and the person that wants to play every instrument and clean every instrument and also figure out every instrument. No one human can do that. And I am here to say you cannot manage all of it on your own. If you are going to have to hire at a certain point. It's why I really have a bone to pick with the term solopreneur. I I hate it. It's not true. You can only be a solopreneur if you're in the super, super early stages, starting something from scratch. And even then, you still need to hire people. Otherwise, you're not investing in your business and your business is not going to grow anywhere. And I will get up on any panel and argue that to, to the end of the year. So you need a team. You need people to operate for you. So you need to start understanding who to hire and then how to manage that team so that you get the most out of that investment and you can stay in your orchestrator state and not become a one-man band. The next strategy here is you need structures that serve. So I find a lot of women are in one of two camps. They either love systems and operations and they want to apply logic to everything, and everything is, they almost treat it like a tech company, but they struggle with creativity and they struggle with actually letting themselves open up in that spaciousness that they should have and allow the insights and allow their intuition to turn on and also step into the conversation. Then the other camp is women who are completely in the feminine. They don't like systems or structure. They just want to dance for 4 hours a day and, things are just going to flow. And I actually think part of that is women hiding underneath that femininity and not, needing a little bit of more masculine energy in their business, because business, like all things, in my opinion, is a balance of energies. Think light and dark in the day, right? We have the nighttime and the day. We have the sun and the moon, and they switch places every single day. It's balance. If we didn't have that balance, nature would be completely disrupted and completely different. It would change the entire ecosystem. So it is a very delicate balance, a very important balance. It's exactly how business works. You need both. So structures can serve. They allow you to tap into that spaciousness, that feminine energy, allowing creativity and intuition to start to dance together. And all of a sudden, boom, you have that brilliant idea. You have that $1 million, change that's going to shift your entire trajectory for the future. Structures serve, okay? But you need to figure out those structures, what makes sense. Because those systems that you put in place, whether it's systems for marketing or systems for client management, systems for sales, ads, whatever it is, they give you freedom at the end of the day. They allow you to step out of things and look at it with clear eyes. The next strategy here, or rather, I should say this is more of a reminder than a strategy, but you need to make decisions faster. I see too many women just nurse decisions for a really long time. And then they wonder why it feels so bad. And it's because they've let this thing fester. And it's like this energy that wants to move, but they're keeping it in this place. And it's almost like if you were to trap a part of your house and then part of it were to get damp, you need to air that out, right? So if you have a decision that you've been sitting on, you need to talk to someone about it, or you need to take action on it immediately. And I think the more confident you become as an entrepreneur, the faster you make decisions, because you just know what's right and what's going to work and what's not going to work. You are more tapped into the trade-offs, because the more you grow, the more decisions are not necessarily black and white. And you need to see, okay, what are the trade-offs with each direction here? And if you've been taking care of your energy and you've been staying in that orchestrator state, and you have systems to take on a lot of the manual work and automation setup, then when those crossroads come, you are better equipped to call that shot. So you need to make decisions faster. If you want to figure out how to get it all done, that's a huge part of it, because that's going to move you faster. But again, sometimes if you feel like you've been thinking about something until 2 a.m. in the morning or 4 a.m., or you've been thinking about it on and off for weeks, girl, you got to make a decision, okay? So if you really feel like you're stuck, that's when you need to talk to someone. You need to literally air it out. I see this happen in my community called Headquarters. It's completely free, and it's exactly a space for this. You can take your question to the Ask Community channel and be like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. I'd love for people to weigh in and help me think through this decision. You don't need to follow everyone's advice, but sometimes just getting some outside opinions can really help you get a little momentum and getting closer to the finish line with whatever that decision may be. So the next one here is that energy management is time management. Think about it. Time is different as an entrepreneur. Our time, we are kind of always on in a certain way in the back of our heads. So we need to become more diligent about shutting the psychic barriers of work off. And sometimes for me, I do this by literally imagining that there's kind of this like iridescent bubble around my head. And that's where all this like these work thoughts are moving and grooving and sometimes shouting. And sometimes I just imagine that all those work thoughts actually move outside of that iridescent bubble and they move away and they kind of drown out and like go off with the wind, if you will. And then this space around my head is more clear. And one practice that is actually from someone who I interviewed a long time ago, Heather Fox, she's an energy healer, and she gave me this tip. But she's like, if you imagine a bubble around yourself and you reach up and you imagine that you're just peeling a layer of that bubble off, like whatever stuck to you, you're just kind of unsticking and letting go, and just physically actually peel that bubble off, it can really help you visualize moving that stuff out of your zone so that you can come back to the present and come back to kind of nurturing yourself and regenerating energy. You have to know when your energy is low and or about to hit a rock bottom. And that's when you desperately need to take care of yourself and fill that back up. I do view my weeks now less around time and number of hours, because let's be real, we're not clocking in and out, and maybe there are billable hours with clients, but hours just don't really exist as an entrepreneur. You can take an afternoon off if you want. You can take a week off without asking anyone. You can work 12 hours a day and just totally grind for a couple days if you want. So it's not about time, it's about energy. And how can you fuel yourself with the right energy and the right amount of energy to get what you need to get done? So some tips of how I do this. I always have Monday be admin days. So I typically do not take any meetings. I really let myself have a slower morning. I like to work out and do strength training. That puts me in a great mood. I love knowing that I don't need to rush to a meeting at a certain point. I just have the whole day. But I also know that I need to get certain admin tasks done during that day at some point. And I really love that because I know what I need to get done, but I have the freedom to get it done in the way that I want to that day. Tuesdays are my meeting days. I usually have client calls. Wednesdays are my podcast days, as well as kind of creative thinking days. Thursdays, I have more calls. It's also a Jupiter day. So it's, expansion. I do activities that I want to expand, things like investments. Sometimes I do my financial reviews on Thursdays. Friday, I like to keep it fun. So I may take 1 or 2 calls, but I typically leave the day free. I do some content, and that structure, that system of that week really helps me. Another one, like many women, premenopause, I have a cycle and our energy fluctuates through that cycle. So I know that the first 2 weeks, follicular phase, I'm going to have a lot of energy, and that is my time to generate a lot of things. So I am not generating content every week. I typically generate content and I batch it, and then it's good for like the next month. And then I'm just reviewing and approving things throughout the month that, my team then produces, so that everything does come from me, but it's ultimately produced and scheduled by my team. So that works really well for me. I know that the second half of my cycle, I'm going to be lower energy, more introspective. So this is more of the time to rest and think. I bake in more rest time. I put more of my calls during the first 2 weeks of my cycle. If I am planning a launch, same thing. I talked about this in the launch episode. I believe it came out in May. And I talk about how I did this with my last launch and how well it worked for me. Some other things you can take here when we talk about energy management is time management. Take an offsite. Create an offsite for yourself. Whether it's going to a cafe for a day down the street or you rent an Airbnb for yourself for a weekend, just give yourself a day to a couple days to not work in the business, but work on the business. And I will share how I am doing this. I'm going to Amsterdam for a week, and I'm going to talk about that probably in a future episode of what I do, how I planned it, how to make the most out of that time, etc. The last thing here that I need to remind you is just rest equals revenue. The more rest you take, and we talked about this in the beginning, the higher your profit. And I know that sounds illogical, but it works. And I started to experiment with this. I started to look at what I was doing between things that I'm generating, like content or creating things for my business, versus admin stuff, reviewing, approving, looking at analytics. Yeah, just looking at stuff, really, right? Like looking at things and making decisions is kind of that second bucket of stuff. So we have generating, looking at things and making decisions. And then the third is truly rest and envisioning. And for me, I love, love, love like energy healing type work, meditation, a good walk outside, any sorts of these things so that I can really sit into the spaciousness and see what wants to come through. When I do that, I typically get huge intuitive hits on ideas for clients or ideas for my business, how to handle a certain situation, the way that I want to communicate something, a really important message that I want to share through my content, like this, right? This topic got, sparked by someone in the community, but today I didn't really even mean to record, and I just knew that it was time. I could feel it, and that was because I had the space. I had the rest of the day to rest, and all of a sudden it came through, and it was like, no, record this now. You are in it now, and you have all the things you need to share this message. So here we are. But protect your rest too, right? So typically I would advise, hey, I just spent some work time, so I'm going to actually create more rest time for myself tomorrow. And I do actually plan on taking the second half of tomorrow off. Now, this is hard. And there are some months where you may not have a lot of rest. The first 5 months of this year, I did not rest very much. And I tried to, have pockets of it where I could to manage, but sometimes it ebbs and flows. So whether it's an hour of rest or half a day, just see what you can weave in and then try to grow that over time. Now, I'll say it once more for people in the back. Energy management, y'all. The more you can take care of your energy, the clearer you're going to be, the better decisions you're going to make, the better things are going to run, the more money you will make. That is the chain. I lost my train of thought. With that is how I get it all done. I trust my team. I really have stepped into the orchestrator versus operator model. It did require investment. That investment was scary at first, and now it just feels like the best money I've ever spent. Anytime I've hired someone, I see that investment come back to me, and more so because more time of mine is freed up that I can meet more clients or do things that more people, allow more people to come into my space, like speaking or networking with the right people in the right rooms. So trust yourself. And I think the very last point I'll make here is commit to something. Ultimately, if you want to get it all done, you're going to have to commit. And that is sometimes the scariest thing, whether that's committing to growing your team, committing to building some systems and structures, committing to more space in your life so that you can hear the, intuition and the ideas that really want to come through and help you. And I lost my train of thought again. Oh, committing. And committing to yourself as the CEO. Because guess what? The CEO probably can do a lot of things. You're probably good at a lot of stuff, but that doesn't mean that you should be doing it. So find people who can think strategically and take on parts of your work We live in a very tech savvy world. Figure out the systems and structures that support your business, and then commit to getting help and connection when you need it, because those moments happen too. And that is very important as an entrepreneur, so that you, again, stay energy rich, so that you have conversations where you're venting the things that do need to breathe and have air. There's so much here, and there's so much possible for you and what you're building. So I hope today's strategies help you figure out how to get it all done, to trust yourself, to commit, and to really nurture yourself and your energy to step into that CEO role. With that, if you want to join Headquarters, my free community for women entrepreneurs, this is the stuff that we're talking about all the time. So come in, join. It's a space for your questions. It's a space for you to share what you're building. It's even a space to look for hires. We have a channel called In Search Of, and you can say, hey, I need to hire this person. Does anyone have any recommendations? And I will say my best hires have typically come from referrals. So the link to Headquarters is in the show notes. There is no catch. It's completely free forever. We're just building a community so that there's a two-way conversation between you and I instead of just a one-way. So I hope to see you there. With that, have a good one, and we'll catch you next time.